Welcome back to MHS Midnight Horror Stories. I know that many of you come to these videos as a gentle way to unwind before drifting off to sleep. So, before you close your eyes tonight, could I ask you for one small favor? Just leave me a quick interaction, a comment, a like, or maybe share where you're watching from and what time it is for you. Little actions like that help YouTube recognize the content and spread it to more people who might enjoy it. My current goal is to reach around 300 likes within the first 24 hours. Now then, let's step into tonight's chilling stories together. Some memories we think we've forgotten are still there, hidden in the darkest corners of our minds, just waiting for the right moment to surface. This story takes place when I was 6 years old, living with my mom in a small house in rural Texas. Now, more than 20 years later, I still can't go to sleep without checking the window locks. My mom worked at a town medical facility. Back then, we lived in a tiny 2-bedroom house. My room was in the corner, with a window that was only about 10 feet from our neighbor's house. I remember it was a fall night. I woke up to a sound outside my window. The streetlights shone through my thin curtains, casting stripes of light on the wall. I lay still and listened. The sound was a gentle tapping, like fingernails on glass. I sat up and looked through a small gap in the curtains. I saw a figure standing outside. I remember not feeling scared at all. I slowly went to the window and opened the curtains all the way. It was a woman. She had neat, long brown hair and was wearing a dark blue jacket, like the ones my mom wore to work. She had a kind face and a warm smile. She waved at me in a friendly way. I waved back naturally. I was curious why she was there at that time, but I didn't feel scared or suspicious. My window was only open a crack for fresh air, and she pointed at it and gestured for me to open it wider. I looked at her for a moment, thinking about it with a child's simple logic. Kids often naturally trust adults, especially when they seem kind and friendly. I decided to push the window open wider. A cold November breeze blew into the room, making me shiver, but I still stood there, looking at her through the insect screen. She said she was looking for a house and needed my help to find her mom. Her voice was soft and warm, just like my favorite teacher's voice. The idea of looking for a mom was something I understood completely. Sometimes I had to search for my mom all over the house when she wasn't in the living room or kitchen. I nodded enthusiastically and told her I didn't know much about the houses around us, just my house and Mrs. Jenkins's house next door. She nodded in understanding, then tilted her head to the side with an expectant look. She asked if I could come outside and help her look. I stopped, looking out at the small, dark yard behind our house. Mom always told me not to go outside alone, especially at night, but this was to help someone find her mom, and the woman would be with me. I told her I had to ask my mom first. She smiled and said I could decide for myself because I was a big girl. This praise made me feel special and important. I stood there, my mind torn between following my mom's rules and the pride of being complimented. She continued, saying I only needed to climb through the window. I looked down and realized the window was low enough that I could easily climb out. But just as I bent down to put a foot on the windowsill, a small thought flashed in my mind. My mom always told me that if anything strange happened, I should find her first. I stopped and told the woman that I was going to get my mom because my mom could help her faster than I could. The woman interrupted me and said no, that she only needed my help, but I had already made up my mind. I stepped away from the window and ran to my mom's room. I gently shook my mom's shoulder and whispered, waking her up. I told her there was a woman outside my window who wanted my help finding her mom. My mom woke up immediately, with a look of horror that I didn't understand at the time. She looked at me with a worried expression, then quickly went to my room, and I followed right behind her. The window was still open, but no one was outside. My mom stood there for a long time, staring out at the small yard and the empty street. Then she quickly closed the window and pulled the curtains shut. I asked her if she saw the woman. My mom knelt in front of me, her warm hands on my little shoulders. She asked me if I had gone outside with her. I shook my head and said no. I went to find her first, just like she taught me. My mom hugged me tightly. I could feel her heart beating very fast. That night, my mom let me sleep in her bed with her, and for many nights after that. She never explained exactly why, only saying it was better for us to be together right now. About 2 weeks later, news spread through the town that a little girl was missing. She was my age and went to the same school. She was a popular girl with blonde hair and lived 3 blocks from us. She had disappeared without a trace from her bedroom at night. When the police arrived, they found her window wide open and the insect screen cut. Many years later, as an adult, I fully understood how dangerous that night was. I realized that the scariest part wasn't the woman's evil intentions, but that she understood a child's mind so well and knew how to exploit our natural desires. I'm forever grateful for the simple, life-saving lesson my mom ingrained in my mind. When something unusual happens, always find your mom first. It was a lesson in trusting my gut, the importance of following a parent's teachings, and the reality that sometimes the most dangerous people are the ones who seem the most normal and friendly. I still remember that fateful day as if it happened yesterday. I'm Jack, an amateur hunter from Anchorage, Alaska. I've spent most of my life wandering the wild forests here. Nature isn't your friend. It's a silent enemy, always waiting to swallow you whole. 10 years ago, I was with 2 old friends hunting for caribou in an area about 10 miles south of the highway near Chicken, a small town where locals live by hunting and fishing. It's a place where stories of missing people are not uncommon. We started our trip on a cool autumn morning. The sun had just risen, casting a warm red glow on the pine trees. The air was so fresh you could smell the decaying leaves. Mike, a big guy with a full beard, was our guide. He used to work for the Fish and Game Department, so he knew every corner of this land. Tom was a quiet man who always carried his rifle as if it were part of his body. We walked for 3 days, camping overnight next to small creeks, listening to the wolves howl in the distance. Alaska is strangely quiet. On the 4th day, we decided to cross a dry creek bed to get to an area with more caribou tracks. The creek bed was about 60 feet wide. The bottom was covered with fine gravel and sand, with scattered bushes growing along the banks. The water had been gone for a long time, leaving a layer of hard, dry dirt under our feet. We walked slowly, avoiding the deep holes that could twist an ankle. I was thinking about dinner with roasted meat when Mike suddenly stopped and pointed to the ground. I bent down and saw it. Just the last few inches of a gun barrel sticking out of the gravel. It was black and covered in dirt. In Alaska, you can find all sorts of junk from the gold rush era. But a gun? That felt strange. We used our hands to dig. The dirt was softer than I thought. After just a few minutes, the rifle was fully exposed. It was a Remington. The stock was cracked, but the serial number was still clear. Tom wiped off the dirt and checked the chamber. It was empty. Maybe someone dropped it while hunting, Mike said. But I thought differently. This creek bed was in the middle of nowhere, far from any roads. Who would be hunting here and forget a gun? We decided to carefully wrap it in my backpack and take it back with us. The rest of the day was normal. That night, as we camped next to a small river, I lay awake in my tent. I couldn't stop thinking about the gun. Something felt wrong. I dreamt of shadows moving in the dark. I heard whispers coming from the creek bed. The next morning, we went back to Chicken. From there, we drove to Talk, the nearest town with a police station. I handed the gun over to the local police officer. He checked the serial number through the system. His face went pale. This belongs to one of the 4 missing hunters. Mike and I looked at each other in shock. The police officer continued. They were all local hunters. They set out from Talk to hunt caribou and never came back. Their families offered a large reward. The police searched for months, but there was no sign of them. We figured they might have been eaten by wolves. He immediately called the Alaska State Troopers and a representative from Fish and Game. They quickly put together a search team and asked us to lead them back to the creek bed. We walked about 10 miles to get there. The search team spread out. They used picks, shovels, and trained dogs to search the area. Soon after, a police officer shouted. We ran over and saw pieces of torn tents, sleeping bags, and human remains. My God, the human remains were scattered everywhere. It was as if they had been thrown around by some terrible force. The search team worked all afternoon, collecting evidence. They found more items, a broken watch, a few boxes of ammunition, and a journal. The pages were faded, but a few lines were still readable. The weather is beautiful tonight. I hope to get a big caribou. There were no signs of human violence. From the location of the debris, the police concluded that the 4 hunters had set up their camp right on that dry creek bed. A heavy rainstorm could have turned the small creeks into a deadly flood. In the middle of the night, while they were fast asleep in their sleeping bags, a wall of water came rushing down. They either drowned or were hit by rocks. I imagined the scene in my head, and it will haunt me forever. The 3 of us stood there, stunned. We never expected that the end of our trip would be the discovery of a tragic truth. After the search, we went back to talk. The police confirmed the identities through their teeth and DNA. The victims' families were notified, and delayed funerals were held. But for me, the story didn't end there. Since that day, I've stopped hunting. I've started researching missing person cases in Alaska. Hundreds of people disappear every year, and it's not always an accident. There are folk tales about forest spirits and creeks that carry curses. I am Dante, 33 years old. I'm living and working in New York. So last New Year's, me and my 5 best buds spent 3 weeks dealing with some mental and gut health stuff together. That New Year's Eve was straight up unforgettable for all of us. We all shuffled into Diego's hospital room, dragging IVs, wearing those hospital gowns, looking totally wiped out, because he was the sickest of the bunch. When the fireworks went off, we all just looked at each other, then over at Diego, lying there in the hospital bed. His eyes were wide open but totally blank. His skin was all pale from no sleep, and his lips were cracked, because his mouth was just always hanging open. Diego was messed up bad from the shock, but honestly, it was mostly because of his own screw-ups. Besides the 4 of us stuck in the hospital, our friend group had 2 more, Jason and Laura. Jason was the one who suggested throwing a little Christmas party at his place. Turns out, Jason and Laura had just moved into a pretty roomy house, big enough to fit all 6 of us for a party. No reason to say no, so we were all hyped to get food ready and bring some gifts. Diego was totally zoned out until Jason asked him what he thought. "Diego, you good to come?" When Diego heard Jason's voice, it was like he snapped out of it. He looked all freaked out and confused, kind of looking around before saying, "Oh, of course," awkwardly. A few days later, the Christmas party was happening. We showed up on time, each of us lugging big and small gift bags. Everyone was busy setting up the table, just talking and vibing about work, life, and what we're doing in the new year. "Where's Laura?" I asked Jason, kind of confused since one of the hosts was missing. Jason said she was getting ready and would be here soon. Meanwhile, Diego was in his own world, just sitting on the couch, eyes glued to his phone, looking all serious with his brows furrowed and typing super fast. He was probably swamped with customer service, especially with it being such a big holiday. The place smelled awesome, like fresh gingerbread mixed with that piney scent. Classic Christmas tunes were playing softly, giving off a totally chill vibe. In the living room, the fire was crackling, throwing warm shadows on the wall. The dining table looked awesome, with a red tablecloth, some candles flickering, and really cool dishes. Jason kept the center of the table open for a special dish he made himself, instead of the usual roast turkey. We were still wondering where Laura was, but Jason just smiled a little this time. Jason said we should kick off the party and that Laura would pop in with a surprise later. We happily plopped down at the dining table, all excited. Diego couldn't stop staring at his phone, and he was acting way more eager than usual. Jason finally brought out the special dish, smelling amazing. We all clapped, totally hyped, and not even trying to hide it. Jason slowly lifted the cover, and inside was this amazing smelling grilled meat with potatoes and roasted garlic. Jason told everyone to dig in and jokingly reminded Diego to put his phone down for a sec. We started digging in, cutting into the juicy meat, all of us amazed by how good it tasted. Jason just stood there, watching quietly, his eyes sparkling with something mysterious. He didn't eat, just pulled out his phone with a little smirk. The message notifications kept buzzing non-stop for minutes, leaving everyone confused. Diego's knife and fork dropped loud onto his plate, and we all looked over at him. Diego froze up, his eyes freaking out as he stared at the phone in Jason's hand. Jason suddenly burst out laughing, held up the phone to eye level, and said with a cold, teasing voice, "Quit texting, Diego. Laura can't read it, and she ain't replying." Diego was caught off guard. His face went blank, and his eyes went wide as he stared at Jason, totally shocked. We were all just as confused, silently glancing back and forth between the two of them, trying to figure out what the heck was going on. "I know all about your plans, Diego. Sorry to break it to you, but it's not gonna work. No more accident or insurance money. The person who is secretly cheating on me with you, planning to kill me, well, you're the one enjoying her now." Diego went pale, eyes wide, staring at Jason. Then he looked down at his plate. In just a few seconds, Diego's eyes went straight to panic and fear. Jason just kept that mysterious smile when he saw us looking at him all suspicious. He casually poured more wine into his glass, that half smile on his face full of challenge. Diego yelled, shoved the plate of meat away, his hands shaking like crazy. Me and the others had no clue what was going on, but a chill quickly spread and took over the whole room. Seeing Diego freak out, Jason busted out laughing, looking all satisfied and proud. I looked down at the half-cut piece of meat on my plate, my hands frozen. Just couldn't put the knife and fork down. Everything inside me felt like it was falling apart. Diego just broke down, silently crying, like his whole body was giving out. We helped each other out of the house, freaked out and laughing nervously, then quickly called the cops and an ambulance since everyone was puking and so scared they were almost passing out. The next day, the police found Jason sitting alone in the room, holding an empty wine glass, just grinning when he realized he'd been arrested. Laura's body parts left in the basement, dried blood all over, and that creepy recipe written out on the kitchen table. All the evidence they found pointed straight to Jason and his evil crimes. But Jason's eyes didn't show any regret or remorse, just emptiness, like he'd completely lost all sense of humanity and feeling. Jason got moved to a separate unit at a psych ward. They said he'd laugh all night, non-stop, like this creepy song that never ended. So the Christmas party wrapped up, kicking off a nightmare for everyone who saw what went down. As for Diego, he was paying for the mistakes he made. The warm yellow lights light up the fancy restaurant, giving it a cozy, romantic vibe. The sweet piano music coming from the corner mixes with the laughter of couples enjoying Valentine's Day. Vincent and Lena are having dinner together at a table by the window. Vincent, in his sharp black suit and confident smile, gives off the vibe of a successful guy. Lena, rocking a tight red dress that shows off her curves, gazes lovingly at the guy across from her. Everything about Vincent makes Lena happy. His style, his chill vibe, and how he makes her feel special. They've known each other for a few months, and this dinner is their way of celebrating their growing relationship. Everything's perfect, from the food to the vibe. It all feels like it's set up just for Lena to live out her romantic dream. The meal goes great, and Vincent waves the waiter over to their table. The waiter is a skinny guy in a tidy uniform, but he has a pale face and nervous eyes. He gives Lena a curious look while listening to Vincent's order. Lena gives the waiter a disapproving look, her face showing a bit of discomfort. Lena thinks the waiter's presence is kind of weird. She gets up, grabs Vincent's hand, and signals that they should bounce from the restaurant right away. Vincent, though a bit confused, still follows her. As Lena walks through the door, she glances back and sees the waiter still standing there, his eyes looking like he wants to say something. When Lena gets to the parking lot, she sighs, still feeling frustrated. But just as she's about to get in her car, a thought suddenly pops up. The watch! She hurries back to the restaurant, telling Vincent she left the watch he gave her in the bathroom. Vincent waits outside, his eyes following Lena as she disappears through the big glass doors of the restaurant. About 20 minutes later, Lena comes back, smiling big as she holds her watch in her hand. Vincent greets her with a soft squeeze of her hand, and they head out. It's still early, and they've eaten enough, so Vincent suggests going to his place for a few more glasses of wine. Lena quickly agrees. Vincent's house, like everything he owns, oozes luxury and class. Big glass walls surround the living room, giving a view of the starry night sky, and the fireplace light makes the space feel warmer. Vincent pours 2 glasses of red wine and sits down next to Lena on the big sofa. They talk, laugh, and share little stories about life. Lena leans her head on Vincent's shoulder, feeling his warmth and the scent of wine in the air. Time moves slowly, and everything feels perfect, like the kind of evening every couple dreams of. But the evening doesn't last forever. When the clock hits midnight, Lena feels her eyes getting heavy. Vincent smiles, gently helps her lie down on the sofa, and pulls the soft blanket over her. She falls asleep, feeling warm and safe. Lena wakes up when it's already dawn. The room is now quiet, with just the faint light from the dim fireplace left. Lena calmly packs up her things, fixes her hair in front of the big mirror in the living room, and leaves quietly. In her apartment, Lena sits on the sofa, sipping a cup of hot coffee. The watch on her wrist sparkles. She turns on the TV and switches to the morning news. The first image that shows up makes Lena stop. On the screen is a shot of the restaurant where they had dinner last night. The news talks about the mysterious death of a waiter. The guy was found collapsed in the restaurant's bathroom, with the cause still unknown. Lena sips her hot tea, remembering the waiter's confused look when he was caught eavesdropping on her phone call in a hidden corner of the restaurant. The corners of Lena's lips curl into a smile. Soon after, the news switches to something else. Young billionaire Vincent Davis has been found dead at his home. Authorities say there are no signs of foul play, but the cause of death remains undetermined. Early reports from the scene suggest that a stroke is a likely cause. Lena stares at the screen for a long time. Her smile gets bigger, and her eyes sparkle with satisfaction. She puts down her teacup and leans back in her chair, letting the sound of the TV echo in the quiet room. Lena takes out her phone and makes a call. "I've done what you asked. That big fortune is yours now. Just transfer the rest of the money to my account, and we'll cut off all contact." The romance between Vincent and Lena is now just a buried secret. For Lena, That Valentine's Day is really just a perfect memory with a nice reward.
I'm Beavis, 27 years old. I'm working as a marketing specialist, currently living in San Francisco, California. I was looking for a new apartment for rent. The one I was currently at is simply too far away from my work, making transportation a hassle to deal with. While I was contemplating about where to live, my best friend Aiden told me to live around his apartment complex. He said there was a vacancy on the 3rd floor, right opposite where he's living. Aiden agreed to show me the place. It's on the 3rd floor of a 5-story apartment complex. A rather cozy one indeed. Everything was pretty new and tidy. All I needed to do was move and settle in. Moreover, this apartment was only 15 minutes away from my work. So I made up my mind right away, telling Aiden I'll be moving in tomorrow. He introduced me to the property owner, Miss Agatha, 56 years old. Miss Agatha was truly an elegant lady. Her gestures exuded warmth and trust toward everyone around her. She told me that she had 2 daughters who already had their families, and her husband passed away when she was 31 years old. This apartment complex was her place for charity, where she's helping the ones in need, the elderly, the social service dependents. Aiden and I was the youngest kids on the block, so Miss Agatha would hope that the 2 of us could help her, running chores if we can afford the time. I told her that I was willing to. The next day I quickly moved in, settled my stuff in the new place in high spirit. I also took my time to greet the neighbors around me, 8 persons in total. The ones that had just broken in around 1 to 2 months, they were the healthy people. The rest had their health not in the greatest of shapes. Those were the old folks that had been residing here for 2 to 4 years. Miss Agatha would be living on the 1st floor. With the majority of people the elderly, the atmosphere here was superbly quiet. I felt very lucky to land in such a good place. One evening, after returning to the apartment from a party, I've seen Aiden. He was kinda tired, as if went to some very laborious tasks. Surprised, I asked him what he'd been doing that left him this tired. He said Miss Agatha told him to assemble for her a wooden chest for the old books that she had. Really? At this late hour? Yeah, Aiden replied joyfully. Probably I was busy all day that only this late hour she's able to contact me. I and Aiden parted ways afterward, each returning to one's respective quarter. A few days later, I had been noticing that Miss Xavier next door hadn't been appearing for many days. Even with my knocking, there was absolutely no response from her room as well. When I brought this matter to Miss Agatha, she told me that Xavier wasn't here anymore. She was picked up by a relative a couple of days ago, which is very odd, given the fact that Miss Xavier told me when we first met that she had no relatives of any kind. Moreover, I was right next door to her. If she was supposed to be moving, the commotion would let me know about that. However, since it was none of my business, I decided to keep the thought to myself and said goodbye to my landlady. Another day, after coming back from work, I saw Aiden and 2 men stacking up a wooden chest into a semi. I came over to help, and only after stacking up the chest into the trunk, I asked Aiden, "Isn't that the wooden crate Miss Agatha told you to assemble for her books?" "Yup, and those books are going to be donated to the city's public library." As the semi sped up and away from view, I pondered to myself, that's a lot of books, and there's absolutely no storage within her apartment at all. Weird. One Sunday morning, Miss Agatha took an elderly couple to show them around, leading them to the apartment on the 4th floor. I asked Aiden and was told that the elderly couple would be residing in the Smiths' apartment. The Smiths? They had already moved out? I remembered that Mr. Smith had been very sick and bedridden for a year now. It was a surprise that they were able to move out all on their own. A Saturday night when I was busy working with the work documents, suddenly there came knocks upon my front door. It was Miss Agatha wanting to ask me for a favor. Without even knowing, I immediately said yes to her request. I was told to help her with disposing some big garbage bags from the storage garage of the apartment and bring it to the processing area. The request surprised me. It was already 10 p.m. and tomorrow is garbage collection day. Why all the hassles, I asked. Miss Agatha said that these garbage bags were rather heavy, also reeked with rotting smell, so it's not very ideal to leave it on the front of our apartment complex. I happily obliged without any further questions. I had to say, her definition of garbage bags is kinda skewered. They're much larger than my expectation. Needless to say about the weight, it's very heavy, demanding many tens of minutes for me to be able to haul it overboard with the semi-truck, the very old semi that Miss Agatha used to drive. Damn, such an elegant lady driving this kind of old rusty truck? I wondered to myself, and without any further questions, I went back to my place. On the next day, the news broadcasted the discovery of a large wooden crate containing the bodies of 3 individuals, 1 male, 2 females. All were of the elderly. Wait a minute, isn't that Miss Agatha's crate full of books? I immediately went over Aiden's room to ask him about the news, but he's not home. In fact, it's been 3 days already. He's not home. I went back to my room. My head was filled with questions when suddenly the police siren rang from downstairs. I quickly went over, seeing a lot of police officers gathering in front of my landlady's apartment. The police here for a lot of report regarding murders and disappearances within the apartment complex, with Miss Agatha the prime suspect. The police came with a ward from the DA's department allowing them to search the place inside out. After a careful search, they found out that Mr. Peter, 63 years old, had deceased on the 5th floor. The Lisa siblings on the 4th floor were also missing. The police also discovered the few daffodils within the garden and demanded excavation, which Miss Agatha obliged. Under the ground was the bodies of the Lisa siblings. I stood staring at the bodies, frozen in fear and shock. When the police came over and asking me to cooperate, I wasn't able to recollect myself after the initial shock. I remembered my friend Aiden and the garbage bags I helped her dumping the night before. I bursted into tears, begging the police officer that Aiden was still alive and not turning into pieces stuffed inside garbage bags. But the truth was always bitter and haunting. I unintentionally helped that evil woman in disposing my best friend's body. After a lengthy investigation, Miss Agatha was announced to have committed multiple counts of first-degree murders. It turned out there was no kindness here of any kind. That hag had exploited the trust of these elders, feeding them poison for many days and weeks while living off their meager pensions and social service supports. Everything I had been suspecting turned out to be correct. Behind the mask of kindness and elegance, after all, was a vicious hag with the evil to match. She was cruel enough to cold-heartedly butcher all those innocent lives for just a few bucks. The evil that, if left unchecked, would make me become the next Aiden in her scheme.
It's been a week, and the bruises still haven't completely faded. I have to wear long sleeves and pants to cover my arms and legs whenever I go out. No one has asked, and I don't want any attention, don't want to explain anything. My boyfriend David and I have lived together for 3 years in a 2-bedroom apartment in suburban Buffalo, New York. 3 years of watching him transform from a warm, caring man into an obsession. When he's sober, David is still the boyfriend with the charming smile. But when he's had a few drinks, he becomes a completely different person. At first, it was just punching walls, breaking kitchen cabinet doors, throwing the TV remote. I'd comfort myself by thinking, at least, he's not touching me. David always apologized afterward. Those self-assurances have sustained me for the past 3 years, slowly helping me accept each dangerous sign. But last week's incident made me realize the nightmare was just truly beginning. It was last weekend. Sarah, my best friend from college, invited me out for drinks at our usual bar. I'd refused many times because David didn't like me going out alone. But this time, I agreed. I needed to get out to escape these negative thoughts. Just an hour, Sarah's moving to Portland soon. This might be the last time we can see each other. I said to David as he sat on the sofa, opening his fourth beer of the afternoon. David looked at me, his blue eyes starting to glaze over from the alcohol. Fine, but be back before 10 o'clock. I was thrilled and eager. The bar was pretty crowded. We found a spot near the bar, laughing and talking about memories, about her new job in Portland. It had been so long since I felt this relaxed and free. Would two beautiful ladies care for a drink? A man's voice made us turn around. He was about 30, wearing a collared shirt, his hair neatly gelled. In his hands, he held two beautiful cocktails. Thank you, we don't. I started to decline. Don't be like that, Anna. It's free. Sarah cut me off. She had already taken the cocktail before I could stop her. The man handed the second glass to me with a friendly smile. I'm Marcus. Just wanted to wish you two a good evening. I hesitated for a few seconds, then took the drink. In my head, David's voice echoed. Men never offer free drinks without an agenda. But Marcus had already turned away, not seeming to want to continue the conversation. Sarah was already drinking her cocktail and kept saying how good it was. I took a sip. The sweet taste of pineapple gently spread across my tongue. We quickly returned to our interrupted conversation. About 15 minutes later, my phone vibrated. It was David calling. Where are you? I quickly glanced at my watch. It was only 9:30. I'm at the bar with Sarah. Come home right now. But you said 10. Anna. The way David said my name made my blood run cold. I hung up. Sarah looked at me with worried eyes. Is something wrong? I have to go home. David's waiting. I stood up, grabbing my purse. I left Sarah with a confused look and rushed out of the bar. My head was spinning. I couldn't tell if it was from the cocktail or from my overwhelming fear. David was already standing outside the bar, his face filled with rage. Seeing his expression made me flinch. I wondered if David had seen Marcus hand me the drink. He didn't say a word, opened the car door, and gestured for me to get in. I sat in the passenger seat, feeling his anger radiate from his entire body. David drove out of the parking lot at a normal speed, but when we got onto the main road, he floored the gas pedal. The speedometer needle kept climbing. David, didn't you remember what I said? He just wanted to wish us a good evening. The car swerved past another vehicle, tires screeching on the pavement. I gripped the door handle tightly, unable to say anything else. We arrived at the apartment in tense silence. As soon as we stepped inside the apartment, David spun around and grabbed me by the collar. You think I'm an idiot? His eyes were bloodshot, his beer-laced breath hot on my face. I had never seen David so out of control. David, I didn't. Shut up, he yelled and shook my shoulders violently. Tears started to stream down my cheeks, but David didn't seem to see them or didn't care. He dragged me across the living room, pushing me onto the sofa. 3 years I've taken care of you, given you free housing. And this is how you repay me? He yelled, punching the wall hard. The sound made me flinch. My whole body trembled. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Inside me, a small voice whispered that this wasn't my fault, but that voice was too weak compared to David's yelling. What happened next was too fast. At one point, I felt myself being pulled up. At another, I heard David's voice near my ear, hot and full of rage. Continuous pain in my chest, stomach, even my face. When it was all over, I sat alone on the living room floor, my back against the sofa. David had gone into the kitchen. I heard him open a beer can. I looked down at my wrists. Dark purple bruises were forming. And that's when a brutal truth hit me. I couldn't leave here. My bank account never had more than $100. My parents were far away. They couldn't help. I had few friends, and I had cut ties with most of them because of David. I was trapped, completely trapped in this life with him in this apartment. David knew it. He always reminded me of my dependence. He completely controlled me. That night, when David was drunk and passed out, I lay next to him in bed, feeling every ache from my injuries. I stared at the ceiling until dawn broke, wondering if there was any way to escape this hell. I'm Ethan. I work nights at a DHL supply chain warehouse. Last year, I got into a bad car accident, messed up my car real bad and lost my full-time gig as a delivery driver. That crash didn't just take the guy crossing the street, it took my peace too. The police said it was an accident, but that didn't make me feel any better. I still hear the crash, still see the shock in the guy's eyes right before he went down. Haunts me no matter how much I want to forget. Tried taking some meds to calm me down. Worked at first, but the nightmares crept back in. Waking up gasping for air, drenched in sweat, and that constant whisper in my head. Doctor said I might have PTSD. Tried therapy for a bit, but after a few sessions, I just couldn't keep going. The past still feels like a wound that never really healed. My next job was just a way to avoid sleeping at night, better than working during the day and drowning in guilt. The warehouse is out on the edge of town, a big old building with crappy lighting on the tall shelves. About a week after I started, I heard the first weird noises, a low hum, kinda like wind blowing through, then footsteps echoing from way down the hall. Tried telling myself it was just the old vents acting up, but that uneasy feeling wouldn't go away. One night I heard a whisper, real close. The voice wasn't loud, but I heard every word clear as day.
Can you see me?
I froze, gripping my flashlight tight, but when I turned around, no one was there. Told myself it was probably just my imagination, but the weird stuff didn't stop. One time, I found a dirty handprint on a shelf, smudged like someone pressed their hand there, and then vanished. One night in the security room, I was watching last week's footage and saw myself standing in the middle of the hallway. But one thing freaked me out. My shadow on the floor wasn't moving, even though I was walking. That sent chills down my spine. I replayed the video over and over, but the shadow stayed still, like it wasn't even mine. The longer I worked there, the more out of it I felt. One time, a coworker from the day shift said he saw me standing at the office door, just staring at the doorknob for ages. I didn't remember any of it. He laughed it off, trying to make it less creepy, saying, "Guess you were sleepwalking and didn't know it." But his eyes said he didn't really believe it. Sometimes, I'd find myself standing in the cold storage, holding a flashlight that wasn't even on, and I had no clue how I got there. Another time, I snapped out of it and realized I was in front of the office door, just staring at the doorknob, exactly like my coworker said. Checked the camera footage, and there I was, standing there for over 10 minutes, totally unaware. One day, while cleaning up, I found an old photo that had fallen next to a shelf. It showed a group of workers standing in front of the building on the day the warehouse opened. And right there, among the faces, I saw someone familiar, the guy I hit in the car accident last year. Flipped the photo over and the caption said, "Our first supervisor, John Harris." Chills ran down my spine when I realized my past, and this place had been connected long before I even started working here. My heart sank. How the hell could this be? I looked it up and found out he used to work here, back before the warehouse got shut down for a while after an accident. A worker died in that accident, and the place stayed closed for almost a year. I didn't know if it was just some messed up coincidence, or if I had somehow brought a piece of his past back here with me, That night, around 3 a.m., the lights in the warehouse went out. I flicked on my flashlight, but the weak beam barely lit up a few steps in front of me. Then I heard footsteps, slow, heavy, like someone was getting closer. I swung the flashlight down the hallway, and there he was, just standing there, not moving, with his eyes glowing in the dark. He walked toward me, not fast, but steady. I tried to scream, but nothing came out. My heart just stopped cold, and in that moment, it hit me hard. He's not someone else. He's me. The way he stood, the wild look in his eyes, everything was exactly like me. I quit my job the next morning, but the nightmares didn't stop. Tried telling myself it was all in my head, just my tired, messed up mind playing tricks on me. But that next night, while I was trying to sleep, I heard footsteps in the hallway outside my apartment. Slow, heavy footsteps, the same ones I heard in the warehouse. When I walked into the kitchen, I froze. The fridge door was cracked open, and the light inside flickered, just like those busted lights back at the warehouse. A shiver ran down my spine when the door slowly closed, on its own. I don't even know what's real anymore, what's in my head and what's not. Maybe I never really escaped that accident. Maybe part of me died with that guy, and now I'm just a shadow, lost and empty. I am Evelyn, 32 years old. A light drizzle was falling on the quiet streets of Portland, streaking water down the car windows. I pulled up my coat collar and hurried toward the office building. April was colder than usual this year, and the gloomy sky made it feel like something was off. The office was buzzing with laughter this morning. Everyone was pulling pranks on each other. Someone had stuck a note on my computer screen. Password changed. Good luck. I didn't even react. April Fools had never really been my thing. A big yellow envelope showed up on my desk, no name on it, but it definitely caught my attention. I opened it. Inside was a plain white sheet of paper with just one sentence. The game has just begun. I glanced around the office, confused. No one even looked my way, like they were all waiting for me to do something. I brushed it off, figuring it was just someone's dumb prank. That night, when I got home, there was a small black gift box sitting right by my door with a crimson ribbon. I picked it up, and a shiver ran down my spine. When I opened it, there was another piece of paper inside. Happy April Fools. I shivered again, and as soon as I folded the paper, I noticed a small photo at the bottom of the box. It was a picture of me from that morning, right after I stepped out of the coffee shop near my office. It was taken from a distance, but it was pretty clear someone had been following me. I carried this weird mix of confusion and discomfort, thinking the whole thing was just some creepy April Fool's joke. That night, a soft scratching sound outside my bedroom window jolted me awake. I sat up, heart racing, telling myself I was just imagining things, but I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching me. The next day, I left the office earlier than usual, just wanting to get home and take a break. As soon as I walked into the house and shut the door, there was a knock. I hesitated for a few seconds before opening it, and there was a big box sitting on the ground. Right away, this strong, nasty smell hit me, making me want to puke before I even opened the box. My heart was pounding. I kinda knew what I was imagining, but my curiosity wouldn't let me stop. My hands were shaking as I peeled off the tape, and the second the lid popped open, I instinctively stepped back. Inside was a pile of red, slimy flesh wrapped in some cloth. Pale white patches of skin were mixed with this gross, sticky liquid. Flies buzzed around the edges, and tiny maggots crawled all over the surface. My stomach turned. and I bolted to the bathroom to throw up everything. It took me forever to calm down, but I went back to the box. I had to get rid of that disgusting thing immediately. But then I stopped. There was a small piece of paper on the box, covered in dried blood. Remember me? I didn't remember. My mind was a total mess, completely confused. But someone out there remembered me, clear as day. The cops showed up 10 minutes later. They checked the box, took meat samples for investigation, and searched around the house. 2 days later, the cops found out the meat in the box was bought from a local slaughterhouse. Looking at the cloth that wrapped the meat, it looked a lot like a jacket I used to have. My head was spinning, and I felt like I was losing it from this creepy prank. He had been so close to me. He snuck into my house, and there was a good chance he was still out there somewhere without me even knowing. "Have you had any recent disagreements?" a cop asked me. My mind was all over the place as I tried to dig through my memories. A few faces popped up. A former coworker who had acted out and was pretty hostile toward me before getting fired. Some weird guy I always saw at the coffee shop near my office. Every time I went, he'd be sitting in the corner like he was watching me. Who could be behind this messed up prank? The cops started investigating based on the list of suspects I gave them. They checked the security cameras near the coffee shop and saw that the weird guy had been there a bunch of times when I was there, but there was no proof he ever approached me. When they looked into him, he turned out to be just a regular delivery guy with no criminal record and no connection to what happened. Next up was my ex-coworker who got fired, Mark. After digging into his past, the cops found out he had a record for harassing women. During the interrogation, Mark didn't deny hating me after getting fired, but swore he never planned any revenge. The cops checked Mark's recent calls and activity, but found nothing linking him to what was happening to me. That made them start thinking maybe someone else was behind all this. Someone with deeper, more dangerous motives. A week later, I was living with constant anxiety. One afternoon, I got a package in the mail, a USB. I plugged it into my laptop, and there it was, a video of me sleeping, with the camera slowly getting closer and closer. The steady breathing of whoever was holding the camera started blending with the sound of my own breathing while I slept. With every passing second, my body froze up more and more. At the end of the video, the camera turned toward the window, showing the reflection of a tall, familiar figure dressed in black. I held my breath, my hands shaking as I slammed my laptop shut. But before I could even process what was happening, my phone started ringing. It was an unknown number. I hesitated for a few seconds before picking up. "Hey honey, fun little joke, huh?" His voice was deep, filled with amusement. My hand clenched around the phone. I thought of him, but there was no way. He was still supposed to be in jail. "Dominic, how is this even possible? The law only traps the weak. I'm back, and I've got all the time in the world to play with you." Hearing that cold, twisted laugh made every scar on my body sting. All those memories of my personal hell came rushing back. My baby with him ripped away from me by violence just before his due date. I took a deep breath, forcing down the panic rising in my chest. I had to keep him talking long enough. I swallowed hard, my eyes flicking to the corner of my laptop screen, the location tracking system the cops installed 2 days ago. The GPS was updating every second. He was so close. My hand shook as I tapped the table, a signal to the tracking team. Dominic's creepy voice echoed in my ear. "The back window. I've been in there so many times. You have no idea." My heart nearly stopped. I didn't dare turn around. I could feel his eyes on me from somewhere in the darkness. I took a deep breath. The SWAT team was in position. "Dominic, this is the last time." "Happy April, fools," I whispered. A loud bang came from the other end of the line, followed by shouting, the sound of a door being kicked down, and Dominic's panicked screams when he realized he was trapped. I hung up. The location screen flashed one last time before the signal went dead. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. This time, he wasn't coming back. I'm Carrie, the third child in a large family in California. In total, there were 10 of us siblings, but there used to be 11. Our oldest brother unfortunately left us when he was very young, a loss that my mother always held in her heart. I grew up in a family where every relationship was complicated and hard to understand. My mother gave birth to her first son when she was only 14 years old, and the man who became her husband was someone who had a close familial relationship with my mother's family. The entanglement wasn't just in bloodlines, but also in how the head of the family ran everything. From a young age, my siblings and I lived in an extremely closed-off environment. When I turned 12, the whole family moved to a bigger house. Everyone hoped it would be a new beginning, but then we realized it was just a place for him to control everyone even more tightly. The house was like its own world, where every action had to follow unusual rules. We weren't free to communicate, weren't allowed to share feelings, and were separated into different living areas. The brothers lived in the west area, while my mother and the daughters lived in the east. Talking, playing, or even seeing each other was limited. I tried many times to speak up, to show my disagreement with those imposed rules, but that only got me into more trouble. His reactions were always very strict and unpredictable. During those times, I felt extremely alone, because no one in the house was brave enough to speak the truth. It seemed like they were caught in a cycle of fear and resignation. When I turned 15, the strange behaviors from the head of the family started to become clearer. He spent more time around the area where my mother and sisters lived than what was normal. Even what clothes I wore wasn't my own decision. I once heard my mother quietly begging him to keep his distance from the children. But that plea didn't seem to be heard. I understood that I needed to be stronger than ever. Over the next 3 years, I did everything I could to keep myself safe and protect my younger sisters. It wasn't an easy time, both physically and mentally, but I was determined not to let those boundaries be crossed again. When I turned 18, I decided to leave that place. In the darkness of the night, I ran away and reported everything I had witnessed and experienced to the police. I knew that, as an adult, my words might be trusted more. But what broke my heart was that all my siblings denied it. They praised him as an ideal father. I understood that they had been deeply psychologically affected, like being imprisoned not just by doors, but also by their own minds. I moved to another town, working at a McDonald's, almost a 2-hour drive from home. Even though I lived in a cramped and humble room, it was the first time I felt true freedom to live authentically, to decide my own life. I still kept in secret contact with one younger sister, the one I always worried about the most. Every message from her was a small ray of light in the darkness of my past life. And then, one day, she texted me, "Sister, I'm so scared. He's completely lost control." At that moment, I knew it was time to go back. I immediately reported to the police and returned home. When I arrived, I saw a large number of law enforcement officers already present at the old house. Inside, there was shouting, chaotic sounds, and extreme tension. I screamed out the names of my siblings, my heart feeling like it was breaking. A moment later, the space fell silent. The door burst open, and he stepped out, quietly, with an appearance that astonished everyone. That calmness was in complete contrast to what had just happened inside. After the incident, the police conducted a thorough investigation. What they discovered went far beyond any initial assumptions. In that house, there were many signs of extreme control that had lasted for decades. Many of my family members had lived in a deep cycle of trauma, which even now is difficult to put into words. Marcus Wesson, that man, was once known as a father, a normal citizen. But in reality, behind those doors was a perverted world, hidden by a calm exterior. Even now, I still wake up in the middle of the night and feel like I'm still living in that house. But then I realize I got out, and I will find every way to help my siblings find their own paths, even if it's late. The story above is based on a true crime that occurred in California. Marcus Wesson, a man with the appearance of a normal person, concealed a life full of perversion and extreme control. When the truth about the life behind the curtain was revealed, he was not only a cunning individual, but also the leader of a group with signs of a perverted cult. The city's police chief called it the most painful and shocking case they had ever witnessed. The dream of a loving father is normal for children, but for the Wesson family, the father became the biggest ghost in their memories, robbing them of their freedom, happiness, and even the lives of innocent children.
I'm Elaine, 32 years old, and a busy single mother with a 7-year-old daughter, Mia. I'm happy with my current life. My career is on the rise, so I'm very busy. But financially, I'm comfortable. Mia is a well-behaved, thoughtful, and incredibly warm-hearted little girl. I plan to work hard for another 7 or 10 years, and then retire early to live a happy life with my daughter. I know Mia feels sad because she doesn't get much attention from me, but she has never complained or blamed me. She always gets high grades, behaves appropriately, and takes care of herself without me needing to remind her. Thank you, Mia. Thank you for being there and walking this journey with me. I hugged my daughter tightly and broke down in tears. I've really missed you so much, I whispered. Mom, I'm still here, Mia asked, causing me to startle. What I mean is, I really miss you when I'm at work. My daughter and I don't sleep apart. Having her by my side makes me feel more at ease and helps me sleep much better. One morning, on the way to take Mia to school, I gave her $50. Sweetheart, I have a late meeting today, so I won't be able to make dinner like I promised. I'm sorry. Mia looked at me and smiled softly. This is money for my dinner, right, Mom? She took the money. I'll go to Chick-fil-A and I'll invite my friends to join me. I'll wait for you to come there. Chick-fil-A, I muttered, stunned. Remember what I told you and call me if anything comes up, I reminded my daughter before saying goodbye at the school gate. Mia also likes Chick-fil-A, which makes me feel closer to her and love her even more. That evening, I picked up Mia at 9 o'clock, by which time the store was about to close. I'm so sorry. You've been waiting a long time, haven't you? It's okay. I had a great time. My little girl always smiles like that. Who did you have dinner with? Bethany or Santa? Those two didn't come, Mom. I made a new friend. She's very beautiful. Is that so? She had eyes like you, Mom. I smiled at Mia. What's your new friend's name? She didn't introduce herself, and I forgot to ask. But she promised she would visit me next time. Seeing my daughter's happiness made me feel more at ease as well. The next morning, I had plenty of time, so I cooked breakfast for Mia. As I was preparing a little salad, I heard my daughter talking. Do you like this egg dish too? My mom cooks it really well, right? Mia, I called my daughter. Who are you talking to? Carrying the plate of salad to the dining table, I saw my daughter sitting alone. My friend. She said the eggs you made are really delicious. Your friend? Where is she? Why did she come to our house so early? I asked, quite puzzled. She just left, Mom, Mia said cheerfully, then continued eating her breakfast. I didn't ask her any more questions, quickly finished my meal and got ready to go to work. But gradually, I realized that the friend Mia was talking about was someone only she could perceive. One day when I picked Mia up from school, her teacher kindly asked to speak with me privately. Mia has been showing signs of distraction lately.
She doesn't focus and often talks to herself, just so you know. I was very surprised. I looked over at Mia, who was waiting in the distance. She was indeed smiling and laughing, but she was all alone. I thanked the teacher and promised to keep a closer eye on Mia's situation. I didn't rush to ask Mia, but silently observed her instead. In the evening, when I returned to the bedroom, Mia was sitting on the bed with a few dolls. She held one up, smiled, and whispered, "Do you like it?" I tapped lightly on the door so I wouldn't startle her. "Aren't you asleep yet?" "Mom, she's here. She said she wants to visit you." I shuddered, froze in place, and quickly glanced around the room. "Mia, what are you talking about?" "She's here." Mia jumped up and pointed towards me. "Right next to you." "Mia, stop it right now," I shouted, feeling panicked and raising my voice a little. After a few seconds to calm down, I gently asked, "What's her name, Mia?" "Her name is Mia too. She looks just like you, Mom." I went silent, and after a few minutes of trying to calm myself, I helped Mia get ready for bed. After Mia had fallen into a deep sleep, I rushed to the closet, grabbed the Ouija board, and asked myself, "Mia is still in this house, right?" The answer left me stunned, and I burst into tears. So my daughter has still existed all this time. She is the Mia I gave birth to, but lost when she was 5. The girl I have now, with a name and appearance so similar, I have adopted as my daughter. I hugged myself tightly, a mix of longing and pain flooding over me, unsure if I was strong enough to face this truth. But now, I know I must protect and love both children, the one in my heart and the one in my arms. you.